Like Kalakin, the light within me honors the light within you. Alright, so today we're going to be discussing one of the most important discoveries that I've made along my spiritual journey, and that is God's true altars. Growing up, I grew up Catholic, but along my spiritual journey, I've studied just about every single form of religion, dogmatic religion, even up to like quantum physics that proves that God is real or infinite consciousness does exist. There's a grand design behind everything in creation. A lot of my upbringing, for some reason, I heard it, but it didn't quite click the way it needed to. And that is, your body is your temple, right? And behold, the kingdom of God is within you. You know, these two things I'd heard, but I never quite understood the true meaning behind it. So God's true altars is the brain and the spine. Okay? So if anything happens to your brain, anything happens to your spine, you're pretty much immobilized, right? Whether it's, you become a paraplegic, or you can't walk, or you can't use your hands and your feet, and or if you get brain damage, then you're more so in somewhat of a vegetable state. And so that's why you practice yoga. The word yoga in Sanskrit, it means union. It means union between your own individual consciousness and God, or infinite consciousness, or God the Father and Divine Mother. And so that's why you practice these asanas. Sure, the flexibility is great. Sure, the relaxation is great. But the purpose to practice these yoga asanas, right, is to release tension between the brain and the spine, or to release your central nervous system. There is no separation between the body and the mind. If your body is tense, if your mind is tense, then they're interconnected, right? Your central nervous system and your spine and your brain, it's connected to everything, just down to your hands, feet, all your internal organs, right? And so when you, to some degree, you're on all these different positions, all these twists, what it's doing is it's freeing up any stagnant energy within the brain and the spine, okay? Because if there's any sort of type of stagnation or tension, then your consciousness is still in this material world, right? Your body is tense, right? And so you're still here. And so when you practice yoga, you should do it with the intention to pray and meditate afterwards. Oftentimes I hear people say, oh, I can't meditate. Well, one, you're speaking into existence, right? The word abracadabra is Hebrew for I create what I speak. So if you tell yourself that, obviously you'll manifest it. And just like any practice, it takes time. You don't build a crazy physique overnight, even with juice. It still takes time. It still takes building that foundation. And same thing with prayer and meditation. Again, yoga is a scientific technique to allow you to enter your subconscious mind a lot easier. And as most of my followers are men, so I'll just cater it to you. As a man, you should, in this outer world, you should be in your masculine state, right? You don't listen to society trying to feminize you through advertising, through the chemicals that are in your food, through the fluoride that targets testosterone and estrogen. Again, try to keep your temple the cleanest, right? And so the only time as a man you should be in your feminine state, when you're submissive, is when you have that daily appointment with your own being, right? When you pray and you meditate, that's when you are submissive. That's where the brain is both a transmitter and a receiver. That's when you are receiving, by, be still and know that I'm God. That is what you're ultimately doing. You're being still. You're ceasing all bodily motion. to turn your awareness inward. Our whole lives, our awareness is faced outwardly, right? Our five senses, they're the beasts of the body. And so whether it's through touch, right, or taste, you may struggle with gluttony, or hearing music, or eyesight, right, beauty. All these things pull you to the material world. And again, all these beautiful things, they're distractions, right? And God's beautiful distractions, and that's the point. We're here to enjoy this life. But let's not forget about the world of your inner world. Society is so conditioned in the world of the mother, matter, matrix, material, that everyone has forgotten the world of the Father, the pattern, spirit, that inner world within your being. The thing is, the answers you seek have been within you this whole time. But it takes you putting your material pleasures off to the side temporarily, because again, if you've never been outside of the United States or in a third world country, I highly recommend it because it'll humble you. I saw more genuine happiness and joy with these people that had nothing. And why is that? That's because here in America, we are socially conditioned to consume. We're a slave to consumerism, always wanting more, trying to keep up with the Joneses. But the fact of the matter is, whether it's money you chase, and if you want to chase money, it still takes discipline, and you can manifest that, but once you grasp it, it won't be enough. It's never enough. The house isn't going to be big enough. The car is never going to be fast enough. The woman you date, there's always, more beauty. And on that note, when you're vetting a woman, sure, obviously, like, you as a man, we crave beauty, right? Because subconsciously that means that our children can be more successful. But ultimately what you should be seeking for is inner beauty, because you could be dating a 10, but if her soul isn't beautiful, you'll forget about her beauty really quick. And so again, that's something you should be more focused on, someone's internal state of mind and spirit, more so than the outward expression. So, prayer and meditation, they work hand in hand. Unfortunately, for some reason in Christianity, meditation isn't really focused on as much as it should be. You can think of prayer as the masculine form of communion with God or infinite consciousness, where meditation is the feminine state of communion with God. And so think of prayer being like a sine wave. You send it out to the universe, right? Well, if you've never meditated, that means you haven't been in a receptive state. And so, for lack of better words, your prayers are just slow or weak, right? And so when you meditate, right, you're still setting time aside for God, but now you're not asking something of him or her. You are just now being receptive. When you stop speaking, then you get your aha moments and you have your epiphanies. And ultimately, you develop more, from a neuroscience standpoint, you develop more gray matter within the brain. And so the more you meditate, the stronger your prayers get, the faster you can manifest things into existence, the faster you can speak things into existence. So again, no meditation, think about it as your prayers, your existence, your being, your thoughts. It's like a sine wave with this much frequency and this much amplitude. Versus the more and more you meditate, your prayers get stronger. So you can, not only does the amplitude change, the frequency changes. So again, it's all vibration. Going back to your body's your temple, you are what you eat. In the Bible, it talks about the Daniel fast. The Daniel fast is where you let go of things that bring pleasure to the hindbrain or the reptilian brain or your animal nature. Things like meat, dairy, and bread. All these things are heavy in nature, or more so, meat is the heaviest. Intaking meat takes 30% more brain power because it does take the act of killing another sentient being. Your consciousness decreases temporarily with pork and cow being the most heavy, and ultimately it's because the level of consciousness of these animals is so high that when you intake it, you're also intaking it's karma, right? And most of these animals are unhappy. It's not like they live normal lives. They were kept in a cage, never touched grass, never saw the sunlight, and they had an extremely traumatic life. And so and not only that, right before they were slaughtered, it's not like they had a painless death. The animal in most situations knew what was about to happen, and so all that time it's releasing stress hormone, cortisol, and a bunch of other chemicals on top of the antibiotics and steroids and GMO food that's pumped into it, all into its blood, into its tissue, and into its cells, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. When you intake it, you become that. You are what you eat. So naturally, your consciousness level goes down. Just bring awareness to the last time you ate a big piece of steak and how you felt afterwards. You probably didn't do anything for the rest of the day. And I want to say it's uric acid that gets created in the body when you consume red meat and pork, and it therefore doesn't allow the healing energy to travel up and down the spine and the brain. It shuts down temporarily. And that's another thing too. I'm not saying meat is bad. Excess meat is bad. And even then, you shouldn't do it, but I would highly recommend you having grass-fed meat. And even that, most meat in the United States isn't properly slaughtered. There used to be some type of compassion, as you took a life, as in it was you who did it, and so there was compassion, and it was typically for a celebration, a wedding, a birthday, so on and so forth. Back then animals were seen as currency, so if you ate meat every single day, you pretty much ended up being broke. Now it's just seen as, again, overconsumption and gluttonous behavior, because we can do it, and just because necessarily we can do something, that doesn't necessarily mean we should. And in terms of bread in the Daniel fast, eating bread, it overstimulates your central nervous system, so it's harder to calm your nerves down. So if you're feeling nervous and anxious all the time, and you have a high bread intake, it's probably that. Gluten breaks down to morphine-like compounds in the body, and so you feel pleasure, but again, that spike in pleasure will cause you to crash back down. And so when you participate in the Daniel fast, again, you're making the sacrifice of not eating these things that pull your consciousness to the material world, so you can, in a sense, pray and meditate easier, so you can ascend to a higher state of consciousness, to be more aligned with a similar consciousness that Jesus Christ had, or Christ consciousness, or Christ awareness. Now, I'm not saying doing the Daniel fast one time you'll have the same state of mind as him, but along your journey of occult life, you try to emanate that same Christ awareness that he had. It all starts with your body. You have to get rid of everything that's polluting your body. And for those of you who may think, oh, well, I feel fine. Well, you're controlling